Daddy, this is Dumebi Okosa. She's based in Abuja. She works with the World Bank, and she happened to have been part of the Mandela Washington Fellows who visited Atlanta and were residents at the Georgia State University. So it is through that program that we met because I was one of the coaches for the fellows, and she ran
Mm-hmm.
a program called Change Narratives, and she interviews people and try to get stories that have not been documented yet out there. And so this is one of those stories that she wants to focus on, and that is why I have dragged you to uh,
To this
come and
interview.
share to this interview. Since you refuse not to write a book, so we have to find a way.
We'll start one way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for joining. Like I said, Samson has only had incredible things to say about you. And like you mentioned, change narratives is trying to tell stories that haven't been told before, how change makers have come to be and how they're influencing the communities around them. And then for this season, we're focusing on social units, one of them being family. And Samson is an incredible mentor. He's an incredible friend. And I figured that that has to come from somewhere. And then when he started to tell me about you, I just knew where the connection came from. So thank you again. So I'm just going to jump right to it. I sent Samson some questions ahead, and I'm going to keep it pretty brief. I'm trying to ensure that this is just going to take 30 minutes because I know he has to leave soon. So the goal is to direct questions at him, but the questions are actually meant for the two of you. I'm trying to basically just be a facilitator here, and then the two of you are allowed to have a conversation without me in the picture. So it's just going to be conversation centering about Samson, the work that he does, and the work that you have done, sir, and how you have influenced him. The end goal really is to talk about Samson as a change maker, the work he has done, the people he has had around him influencing him, and your relationship right now with him as an adult and things like that, because that's what basically constitutes an entire human being. You have to look back to look forward. So that's the goal of this interview. So I'm going to jump right to it. Okay. All right. So, Samson, thank you. Thank you, Sarah, for coming on Change Narratives. I'm just going to go ahead and introduce you based off on everything that's online. Everything I'm going to say about you is Googleable. Everything anybody needs to know, the person can find on YouTube. So, everyone, I have here on Change Narratives Mr. Sampson Adotey. He currently works as an international development specialist and as a communication specialist. Currently, he works for the Task Force for Global Health, and that is based in Atlanta, but he's made so much influence across Africa. He works at different levels. He works in Africa, he works in Atlanta, he works in, I think he also work in, I don't know, some parts of South Asia.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So you've basically worked everywhere. So I think you're what I would term a global change maker. And I'm going to leave you to please introduce your dad.
Okay, so I have the privilege of introducing the other Samson, actually the main Samson, because
Okay.
unintentionally, maybe, I happen to be a carbon copy, maybe times X or whatever. So here with me is my dad, Sampson Kofi Adotey, just as I am
Mhm.
Sampson Kofi Adotey, except I am junior. And over the years, I think the junior has been invincible. But those who know, the two of us know that there's a senior and there's a junior. So this is my dad. Um, he is, um, my life wouldn't be what it is without him. And my mom, obviously, and both of them have influenced my journey to this point. He spent his life as a hydrogeologist, worked in the lab, worked on the field, worked in boardrooms, and also basically became a servant leader at home in our community, teaching people. I remember in high school, he, came to teach me for 3 months before I wrote WAEC or WASI. Every day, no fail. Even on my birthday, he insisted we should have classes. Um, and I have forgiven him for that. So yeah, but that is Mr. Sampson Adotey, a very God-fearing man, dedicated to the church and a hard worker, even in his very youthful age at this point. So yeah.
Okay, Mrs. Sampson Adotey, welcome to Change Narratives. Sir, please, how would you introduce the junior Sampson? If you were to introduce him to the world, how would you introduce him?
I would say he is just like me. In that age, when he was 3 years, he would want to be with me on the field. Actually, as he said, I'm a hydrogeologist, and our work took us to villages, very, very remote villages. Somebody would say the unreached. The, the roads were terrible, yet he enjoyed a journey with me when he's on holidays. So along the line, I remember I was not with him. Actually, we were doing some work at Guinness Ghana Limited, Kumasi, and
Mhm.
my bosses interviewed him. What do you want to be in future? Do you want to be like a father? I said, yes, I want to be like my dad. And that's why I
Hmm.
said we want to travel to a lot of places to help the serve, I'm saying the underprivileged people. And that's what I motivated him to go to a lot of villages. And at the end of the day, supporting children who were struggling to make books, exercise books to even write, and pens and pencils to write. Without my knowledge, yeah, he wouldn't to save his little that we give him to buy exercise books and pens and pencils and those things, go and donate. In times, rally people, some of his friends to do same. They will partner to give this
Mhm.
thing, to donate things that they feel it's necessary for them to also learn, to bring them up, to the level of those in the cities. So I would say he's just like me. So although he bears my name, yeah, it's not
Yeah.
only my name. The only thing that he didn't become a hydrogeologist.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Most times, right, the first sons in, African culture are junior. And it's actually quite rare these days to see a junior who's exactly like his dad. I have a couple of cousins that are definitely not like their fathers, but they are called junior. And because of the incredible work you've done, sir, I can imagine, just how proud you are of him. So you've basically gone through everything I wanted to ask about what you built, basically, and what people come to you for. So I'm just going to jump to the next one to ask Samson. Your dad said something about following him to work in the communities, right? But which one of these memories was a core one for you?
I think every one of those memories, like had the same effect because I don't think I'll be going back. Mind you, I have other siblings who could have, I'm sure after their first and second experiences would have said, no, I don't want to do that. But
Hmm.
he and I, pretty much enjoyed being in the middle of nowhere, getting stuck because too much dust has gone into the engine and our car wouldn't start any longer, and we would have to figure out a way to do that to move the car and possibly sleep outside if no one comes to our aid. But
Hmm.
there are many of such examples that I can give. And I think one of them is, and it is a story in Kumasi when I went to lift that cement block
The block.
and then I hit my knee. And, I'd gone out to the field with him and the team were, basically building constructing a borehole and they were trying to,
Hmm.
set things in place. And so, as young as I was, probably like a teen, not even a
No,
teenager,
no,
like
you were
even
not a
before I was
teenager.
10,
No, yeah, before you were 10.
I was 10, I thought that I should actually help. Like, which
Yeah.
10 or which under 10-year-old in this age would want to carry a block in the middle of? nowhere that they haven't been, and they just went the first day, right? And so for
Without
me,
being
that
asked. Yeah.
without being asked, I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to help because I saw that what they were doing was good and useful and meaningful. And so that, is one of those experiences that really shaped it for me. There are countless number of them. There was another time I don't really remember the name of the place, but we were in the northern parts of Ghana. We're in a community, and at that time, we had gone to check on a borehole that was already constructed. So they had set
Mm-hmm.
up the poly tanks, the water system, and it was going to be mechanized and solar. And so the idea was just to move water from the pump to the
Polytech.
poly tank so that people could draw water from there. And when we had packed the car, I remember when we were always traveling, we'd have snacks, we'd have water, we'd have everything. But because we're used to getting stuck in the middle of nowhere, so we just went prepared, and at that instance, I saw a baby crawl, and that baby crawled to the car and touched the car tire, right? And began
Yeah.
to lick the car tire. He didn't see it. He was out there. I saw that thing and it really hit me, right? Like I was like,
Yeah.
I don't ever want a child to be this poor that they
And
would
they've
think
never seen
that
a car. Yeah.
they've never seen a car and even imagine that a car tire is food.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's anything we could do to change that, I would want to be part of that story. And that has been so all those experiences we've had, I have never forgotten any one of them. They all stay with me, they remain with me. I think about it all the time. And I do what I do, and I'm very passionate about what I do because you already know this, and everybody
Yeah.
around for this. I'm passionate because of these things. Because it's for me, it's not I could have lived a different life, right? I wanted to be a lawyer. There's that story, there's that story as well. I could have become
Yeah.
a lawyer. I could have been great at it. I could have made some money, and lived a life for myself. But I chose the very unconventional road. At the time, I had no idea. I mean, I'd seen my
Mm-hmm.
dad do it, but I didn't see his journey. And because I'd seen him do things, I thought it was possible. And even without the map
Yeah.
and the clarity on how to navigate to get there, I was like, I'm going to build my own path. But I want that path to be similar to what he did because I was the example I was
Yes.
supposed to.
I
That's
remember,
that's really amazing.
I remember
Okay, please go
once
ahead, sir.
I was in Bali in the Northern region, then now in Savannah region. After his
Mm-hmm.
Wasi, then he called, Daddy, I want to come to you. And I said, yes, you can come. So the next day, he was on a bus coming to Bali, where our current president comes from. That's where I was walking around that side. He got there in the morning at around 9 a.m. And I just put him in a vehicle. There we go to the site. No rest.
No rest.
No sleep. And well, he enjoyed all these things. I could see that he was also passionate about that. And we worked
Mm-hmm.
in that side. From Bali, we went across to Damango. There were other communities we were working. And it was getting to the rainy season, so the roads were not good. And now we have to uh, uh, try to get to the sites with these heavy trucks that were drilling the boreholes. And then the road were, as I said, terrible. So your pickup, though it's supposed to be a 4x4, can get stuck. And we have to push to get out of those. Then after finishing that area, we pushed to the Bibila area, which is another district, not in this side, eastern side. And I could understand him with the school children because we're drilling in the schools, primary schools and those things for the children were there. And I could see he was very, very passionate about it. Sometimes the schools had no, useful classrooms, so to speak. They are made of switch and then some roofing, which is thatch. And if you are coming from Accra where you have properly constructed classroom blocks, you know, the feeling you have. And then let's say the books, those books left alone, if the classrooms are not that anything to write home about, what about the books they are using? And he didn't tell me about whatever he was doing, but I could see sometimes chatting with the school children and those things. But I could see that he had a human feeling for,
Yes, sir.
uh,
Yes,
that's what.
sir. Yes, sir. Samson, I'm sure that you must have been the coolest kid out there, and even in your own school. Like, you imagine those kinds of stories. I can imagine you telling your classmates, and like, what were you doing over the holiday? I was on the site. I was going to work over the holiday.